In the marketplace, a lot of people say charge what you're worth. So when you've got price and value at parity, what happens? People go, well, that was fair, that was reasonable, which is an okay response. What happens when value exceeds price? It creates that wow experience for your clients when their expectations have been exceeded. And what do they do then? They go tell everybody. Should you charge what you're worth? Today, I'm going to have the value versus price conversation, and I have a contrarian view to what popular mainstream commentary might say about this. And I'll start with a story that happened last Friday night. I'd come back from the city taking my son Bailey to an appointment, and I put out the Uber Eats app, fairly common Friday night practice for me, went to order a pizza from Crust, who I like their pizzas. They're not fantastic, but they're very reliable. They're close by, so you get your pizza pretty quickly. And the pizza that I normally order had gone up to $31. Now, for me, the price had exceeded the value that I place on Crust Pizza, and I did not proceed with the transaction. Down the road, however, there's a place called T17. It's run by Italian heritage owners, fresh ingredients from their backyard. The pizzas are always warm and crisp. They're never soggy. And they charge just over $20 for their pizzas. And I'd happily pay up to $40. So in this instance, their value far exceeds the price that they're asking. And of course, like I'm doing right now, I'm telling you about T17 pizzas and to give them a go if you're ever in Box Hill North. In the marketplace, a lot of people say charge what you're worth. So when you've got price and value at parity, what happens? People go, well, that was fair, that was reasonable, which is an okay response. And that's the problem. It's an okay response. And I understand the logic behind charging what you're worth. What happens when value exceeds price? It creates that wow experience for your clients when their expectations have been exceeded. And what do they do then? They go tell everybody. They're raving fans and they're advocates, and they bring more business through the door. So if you're charging what you're worth, chances are people are going to go, oh yeah, that's reasonable. But if you get that value to exceed the price, you're going to have a very different client and referral and organic growth experience. So my invitation for you is to look at how can you get the value of what you offer in the marketplace to exceed the price, to create that wow factor. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is who you deliver value for. Because one way that you can increase your prices without changing what you do is by changing the who are going to get a much more higher level of value than if you're delivering your services to someone else in another category. And I'll use a couple of examples to help paint a picture. So let's say you're a specialist at helping save marriages, and you've got a couple on Centrelink that are heading for divorce. You've got a multi-million-dollar executive that is also heading for divorce. You save this marriage over here. What's the economic value going to be in a financial sense? Maybe a few $1,000s might be getting split between the two and a couple of very low budget legal fees. On the other side of the table, if you're able to save this marriage, splitting a multi-million-dollar estate down the middle plus thousands of dollars in top legal fees, exact same outcome, you save the marriage. Who's getting a lot more value? Pretty obvious. So I want you to think about who in the marketplace is on this side of the table that I just spoke about, the one that's getting a lot more value from the same outcome. So naturally, you can charge higher prices for delivering this, and they're probably going to be a much more pleasant client to deal with. And by charging and getting compensated at a higher level, you require fewer clients, so you can upgrade the experience. You don't have to work with as many people to get the same amount of profit and income, so you have a much simpler business. I think a lot of people don't look at the standards of who they're willing to work with, and as a consequence, they deliver a great result and a great solution, but the value that the client extracts from that is very low compared to if they were working with someone else at a much higher standard. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was not magnifying value beyond results, is it attracts a BS economy, which can lead to a breakdown and people really not enjoying themselves, feeling incongruent, misaligned, and that's just not a happy place to be. So why I've been bullish on documenting your journey and sharing the results as you go and doing the work is you don't need to magnify your value on the results. It's all clearly displayed online and people can check that out. So you'll attract a much more aligned client base, which means you'll have a lot more Zen business. And naturally, if it's there and people can see that, you are much more capable of getting getting on board those higher standard of clients where you can have that higher price point because they'll extract the higher perceived value. The next thing that you need to do is keep increasing your value. So getting more capable, more efficient at delivering results, better skilled, creating better experiences so you can consistently keep raising your prices up, but also making sure that value always exceeds the price so you get that organic word of mouth wow factor that I spoke about on the podcast a little bit earlier. So that's the conversation that I wanted to have today, and it might be a little bit different to how you've been looking at value and price. Maybe you got a little epiphany or a breakthrough. So the key takeaways is one, my invitation is to make sure value exceeds price to create a wow factor, and then considering who is that if you increase your client standards with the same solution, the same process, they extract a lot more value because it has a much bigger impact on their life. So therefore you can naturally charge more. So think about that heading into the new year. If you enjoyed this episode and you're not subscribed or following, make sure you do that so you can catch future episodes. And if you're able to review on the platform you're listening on and give us a 5-star review, that'll help more people discover the show.